Hey guys. Okay, so as some of you already know, I'm currently deep in a major renovation. When I say deep, I'm actually only a few months into a project that's going to take a year and a half, but it feels like I'm deep. Anyway, throughout this process, I keep joking to everyone, it has been the best thing for my business because I've learnt so many things already. Firstly, it's taught me to be a bit more sympathetic, let's just say, to clients when it comes to making changes. Like, I still distinctly remember the moment the certifier turned to me and just went, "Oh no, you're not putting your pool in the backyard in that location. Like, it's just not going to work for this reason, this reason, this reason." And I was like, my world is over. Like, my whole backyard was designed around that pool. You can't possibly change it. Obviously, I wasn't that dramatic, but those thoughts were going through my head of, oh my goodness, I just love this design. How can you make me change it type thing? So yeah, it's made me kind of take a step back and appreciate how some of my requests, which are generally driven by council's feedback and all that sort of stuff, can land on clients. And like I said, it makes me a bit more sympathetic to them and how I deliver it and what I ask for and all of that sort of stuff. But also, possibly more importantly, it's given me a practical understanding of how town planning rules and requirements or requests or plans and conditions and all of that sort of stuff plays out in the real world down the track. And it's had a big impact on the things that I ask for, let's just say, on my plans. So when it comes to sending through my wish list for what I want in plans before we lodge with council, it's changed what I actually suggest people do with their plans. So what I wanted to do was use this week's video, and it's going to flow into next week and the following week because there's just so much that I want to talk about. But what I want to cover off is my number one lesson that I've learnt to date when it comes to renovating here in Brisbane. I've learnt so many. I've started keeping this little list of things because I thought, hey, I'll create an Instagram page where I'll share this knowledge with the world. It hasn't happened. I've just been too busy. So I thought instead of focusing my efforts on that separate dream Instagram page, I'll just focus it through BTP here. So the biggest lesson that I've learnt to date is that you need to be flexible. And you need to be flexible for three key reasons. And I have to give credit to my team here. They have been amazing in terms of kind of prepping me, managing my expectations along the journey. Like, they did so much work, and I don't think it was necessarily a conscious thing. I think it was probably unconscious for them, or subconscious, I should say. They basically did a lot of work in the early stages to go, okay, just so you know, we're doing a renovation to a Queenslander here. Things are not going to go to plan. You could see this happen, or this could pop up, or this could change here. So I sort of went into the process with more of an open mind. And yeah, I didn't appreciate it at the time, but since there's been so many situations where things have popped up and it's kind of become water off a duck's back. Now, I have to acknowledge we haven't hit major issues yet, and definitely next week one of those major curveballs could come up and it may not be so water off a duck's back. But to date, it's just been like, okay, cool. That's not what we planned. Let's just change direction. That's what I'm trying to say. I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. Let's change direction and let's just go with the flow, etc., etc. So yeah, I mentioned before there's three key reasons that you need to be flexible. So I want to cover off reason number one in this week's video, reason number two in next week's video, and reason number three in the following week's video. Now, I want to make it clear at the start here, most of our videos typically are designed or intended for design professionals. In this video, it's a little bit more tailored towards the end client, the mum and dad, but I do still want to encourage the design professionals to stick it out and to watch this video so that you guys can hopefully use this as inspiration, let's just say, to have the conversations that my team had with me with your clients so that you create a better experience, let's just say, for everyone along the way. So let's get to reason number one. Why do you need to be flexible? Well, at the end of the day, I and everyone else out there has not paid $1 million for your proposal plans. So you cannot for a second expect that every little detail has been worked through and that 50 people have checked or triple checked their plans to make sure that human error has not factored into it. Now, I've had so many little examples of this, and it is 100% not a reflection on my team. It is a reflection on, like I said, I have not paid $1 million here, so my expectations need to align with the price point that I paid. I paid a good amount of money, but I didn't pay $1 million here. So yeah, basically, as an example, we had this pop up, I think it was a couple of weeks now. So on the side of my property, we've got a retaining wall. Now, within entering in the property, you're going to go along a lovely little walkway, walk through a beautiful arbor. It's going to be lovely, darling. But anyway, we're going to walk through there, and there's going to be a retaining wall. Sorry, I'm still getting over a head cold. Let me cough. I'm going to push on today. So yeah, walking along the walkway, Going along the entry walkway, there's going to be a retaining wall there. Now, on the property boundary, there is a second retaining wall. Now, the intention was that that retaining wall and this retaining wall would nicely line up. So you'd end up with a beautiful flat garden bed in between the two. It would be beautiful. What we've discovered now on site is, unfortunately, this retaining wall does not extend down quite as far as we thought it would. So what we've ended up with is this kind of situation. So to marry the two in, you end up with a really sloping garden bed. Now, technically, we could make it work. Like, we could do some, I don't know, ground covers and things to stabilize the bank there and make it sure it doesn't erode away and everything. But it's going to be a bit of a pain to deal with. It's probably not going to look so great. So we've got two options. The first option here is we build up this internal retaining wall to get the levels to match. The second option is we build down this retaining wall, so replace this one, to get it to match. Now, this one, the issue we've got with this one is if we build this one up, then it's going to create interface issues when we get to the front boundary with all the fencing and all that sort of stuff. Again, not a showstopper. We can work around it. We can increase the heights of the fences, model or mold some stuff there. Massage is the word I was going for. Massage some stuff there. We can make it work. But the side neighbour, they were already talking about potentially removing and replacing that retaining wall, taking the opportunity to do it whilst the machines are on site, and therefore you can get easy access and all of that sort of stuff. Now, I do suspect they've sort of got a bit scared off by the costs of doing that retaining wall, and they're kind of second guessing things. So my plan is to basically approach them and say, hey guys, the extra money we can pump into this wall to get it up, and a bit more because it's obviously a better outcome for us, how about we throw that cash at you guys to help with this retaining wall here to allow you to replace it at a slightly lower level so that it works in with us. So yeah, basically I can go to them and go, hey guys, got a bit of an issue that popped up on our property. We've got a workaround, but this alternative is a much better workaround. Would you be interested if we threw some cash your way to make it happen in that direction type thing? So yeah, in an ideal world, like I said, if I was paying $1 million for my plans, I would have expected my design professional would have actually double-checked, triple-checked, quadruple-checked the retaining wall heights, made sure it all married up, it all worked perfectly. But I can't expect that to have happened in this instance. And I had another great example the other day. So different design professional called me in relation to another job. She was, I wouldn't say upset or frustrated. They're very strong words, but she was just like, ugh, I've got a situation here. So the situation was basically they designed a renovation for a house. They designed this carport and they'd modeled the window in at a certain height on the front facade. Now, what it turned out is, and it was designed in a way that the gable on the carport would sit below that window. Makes sense, right? Anyway, when they actually got to site, the builders started work. The gable on the carport overlaps the window. When they've looked back at the photos, they've realised the window was always there. It's just been modelled in the program incorrectly. Should it have happened? No. In an ideal world, stuff like that would not happen. But it's human error. At the end of the day, again, we come back to the fact that you're working with humans. You're not paying ridiculous money, so you can't expect people to go through and or 50 separate people to go through and check things 4 times over type thing. You are going to see little issues or little errors pop up along the way. So the moral of the story, or the point I want to get across today, like I said, there's 3 reasons you need to be flexible, but the first one is you need to understand that you are not paying ridiculous amounts of money, so you can't expect that the design professional has worked through every little detail and that there's been multiple eyes over those projects to make sure that human error hasn't factored in. As a result, you do need to be flexible. You do need to understand that these little issues and hiccups will come up during the construction process. Okay, I think that covers off everything I want to talk about today. Like I said, join me next week where we dive into number 2, or reason number 2 that you need to be flexible. As I always like, blah, blah, blah. Really need that coffee. As I always like to say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got 3. Number 1, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site-specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number 2, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number 3, what was my number 3? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all. Bye.